Welcome everyone to our County Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 16th. I'm Commissioner Sharon Bolos. I'm joined by Commissioner Gage Froer and Commissioner Jim Harvey. Commissioners, I'm just going to let you know right now that because of the coughing, yeah, I see you moving away from me, the coughing that I've had, I have a lot of cough drops, so please forgive me for having something in my mouth, but better safe than sorry. We invite the audience to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, Duncan Olson will give us an invocation. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear, kind, and gracious Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for this day. We're grateful for the opportunity that we have to meet together and work on issues with the county. We're grateful for the commissioners and their willingness to serve. We're grateful for all of our many blessings in this time of season. Heavenly Father, please bless as we go throughout this meeting that we can remember the bigger picture, that we might be able to come together as a community and the commissioners can be guided to make the decisions that best fit. Heavenly Father, please bless us with some snow, that we might be able to stain our lawns, gardens, and pastures, that we might be able to continue to thrive in this community. We ask these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Olson. Commissioners, item D is Commissioner comments. Anything you'd like to say? Commissioner Ford?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think I'll wait. I'll have comments on a couple of these issues, so
Okay.
I'll hold my comments.
Commissioner Harvey?
Same.
Okay. We'll move to item E then, agenda-related public comments. Comments will be taken for items listed on the agenda. And we'd ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. I will ask that if you are here to comment on one of the public hearings specifically, please save those comments for that time. Is there anyone who'd like to come forward now?
Thank you, Commissioners. Jan Fulmer from Eden. First, I would like to give the recorder of this all the comments that have been sent in to you via email. It would help facilitate getting them into the meeting minutes, because I know they won't be read at this meeting. But there are just a couple of comments. I'm sorry to report this, but there was additional information on the amendment to the 2002 Wolf Creek Development Agreement that was provided in a link in the agenda PDF that was sent out by Shelley. It was number 8 under public hearings. Only this information was highly secured, because when you clicked on the link, you had to have facial recognition, a fingerprint, a PIN, or a security key to access the information. This is not Shelley's fault. It was just something that was given to her, and maybe people didn't realize the security that was on it. I know Shelley was out of the office yesterday. I did call late yesterday, and I talked to, I think, Christy. I kind of explained to her what the problem was, and then late yesterday, something was finally posted in Frontier. But nothing had been in the Frontier system on this additional information until late yesterday. The second thing is under action item number 16, to request the 28+ acres from AV3 to AV1. I highly request that you consider not approving this, because the Weber-Morgan County Health Department stopped a single-family home with a well and a septic system on 1 acre. It had to go to 3 acres, and that happened in the late 1990s. So please, let's just look at the conditions as they are today. The third item is action item number 17, to rezone the 6 acres in Nordic Valley from FV3 to form-based. If you want to approve a rezone, please let the rezone reflect exactly what's going to be built there, as the rezones have occurred in western Weber County. So let it be for single family, multifamily, but let it be that specific rezone. The form-based zone can allow many more units to be put there. It allows a tremendous amount of flexibility. Also, this was referred to as the Asgard Heights, and there was a discrepancy in the description of this parcel. First it said 4 acres, then it said 6 acres. I think it's 6, but I'm not 100% certain. So please take that into consideration when you look at these items. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward? And again, speak on items that are not, that don't have their own specific public hearing? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item F. Consent items number 1. Request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $173,038.81. Number 2, request for approval of warrants numbers 106643 through 106727 and 494338 through 494460 and 448 in the amount of $1,391,302.24. For a summary of warrants and purchase orders, Mr. Ricky Hatch, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We issued 19 purchase orders this week for $173,000. 17% of that amount, or $29,000, was for engineering to go towards sidewalk repairs. 16%, or $28,000, is for the jail to purchase mattresses for inmates, as well as janitorial supplies. 14%, or $24,000, is for the health department to purchase vaccines. We have 4 items at $15,000 or less. County Fair for a canopy deposit, the Golden Spike Event Center for Icebreaker Rodeo Awards, the library for building maintenance and grounds care, and the ice sheet for rink glass replacement, as well as property management purchasing a mower. As far as checks, we issued 209 warrants this week for $1.4 million. Just over a third of that amount, $500,000, is for the transfer station to pay for disposal costs. 17%, or $235,000, is for dispatch to purchase software. 18%, or $249,000, was for the health department. That's for contracted services. 7%, or $98,000, is for the library to purchase books and materials, utilities, and some building maintenance. And then 5%, or $84,000, was for building improvements to the jail medical wing, as well as to the sports complex. Our top 5 payees this week: Republic Services received a check for $448,000. Sanity Solutions Incorporated, $235,000. GSBS, $71,000. Rocky Mountain Power, $59,000. And Overdrive Incorporated, $55,000.
Any questions for Mr. Hatch?
None for me, thanks, Madam Chair.
Okay. Item 4 on the consent items is a request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on December 9th, 2025. I would ask that we hold that. There are some changes that need to be made. Item 5, request for approval of Weber County Sheriff's Office Policy 1054, compensation and salary adjustments for sworn staff members. Number 6, request for approval of a local transportation funding agreement by and between Weber County and Riverdale City to establish the terms related to the Riverdale City Ritter Drive Roundabout project. Number 7, request for approval of change order number 6 for the 12th Street Phase 4 project. Number 8, request for approval of a planning grant from the State of Utah Water Quality Board, Department of Environmental Quality, Division of Water Quality. Number 9, request from the Weber County Sheriff's Office for approval to renew Live 911 service. Number 10, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Event Lab for the 2026 Muddy Dash to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center. And number 11, request for approval of a real estate purchase contract by and between Weber County and John B. and Laura Parker. Commissioners, if there are no questions, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve those consent items as read 1 through and including 11, and also hold number 4 as you've previously mentioned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Thank you. Item G, action items. Number 1 is a request for approval of Resolution 61-2025 of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing and reappointing members to the Ramp Tax Advisory Board, the Ramp Tax Arts and Museums Committee, and the Ramp Tax Recreation and Parks Committee. Ms. Shelley Halsey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
We're doing this a little bit later this year. We had a couple of our board members that were running for office, so we wanted to see how that went because we have to replace them if they win, and that is the case here today for at least one of them. The commission has duly considered all applications as well as the recommendations of the board and determined certain individuals to be well qualified to continue service or begin service on the Weber County Ramp boards. Scott Smith and Denise Green are hereby appointed to serve a term on the Recreation and Parks Committee. Those appointments will begin today and end on September 30th of 2028. Brett Holmes is hereby reappointed to serve on the Recreation and Parks Committee and the Advisory Board. Dana Gibson is reappointed to serve on the Arts and Museums Committee and the Advisory Board. These appointments will also begin December 13th and end on September 30th of 2028. Liz Morrison is hereby reappointed to serve on the Recreation and Parks Committee and appointed to serve on the Advisory Board. This appointment will begin on December 16th and end on September 30th of 2028. Sylvia Newman and Jordan Brune are each hereby reappointed to serve a term on the Arts and Museums Committee. Those appointments will begin today and end September 30th of 2028. Kevin Burns is hereby reappointed to serve as the Chair of the Advisory Board. Corey Green is hereby appointed to serve as the Chair of Recreation and Parks Committee. Jim Craig is hereby appointed to serve as the Chair of the Arts and Museums Committee. These appointments will begin on December 16th and end on September 30th of 2026. And that's all I have.
Any questions?
None for me.
Okay,
Ma-
I'm ready for.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve those rent board members as presented by Ms. Hallisey today.
That's
I'll second that.
Resolution 612025.
And I'll make that as a form as a resolution, 61-2025. Thank you.
Second.
And a second. I have a motion and a second.
Roll call vote for Resolution 61-2025. Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Commissioner Faur?
Aye.
Chair Bolos?
Aye, the motion carries. Thank you.
Madam Chair, point of
Yes.
privilege.
Yes.
I think we have some guests from our new Ogden Valley City that I just wanted to recognize. We have the new mayor and some of the folks from the council here, and I just wanted to recognize them.
Welcome. Thank you, Commissioner Harvey.
Glad you're with us.
Okay, item 2, request for approval of Resolution 62-2025 of the County Commissioners of Weaver County approving the division and establishment of certain voting precincts in accordance with a court order. Lauren Schaefer and Billy Hatch.
Hi, good
We're
morning.
double lucky this morning.
Billy's going to hand out what the maps look like in case you guys have any questions. But I'm going to get going. So, the Lieutenant Governor's office notified us that we need to make changes to our precincts to be in compliance with the court order issued by Judge Gibson on November 21st, 2025. These changes essentially move us from U.S. House 1, which is Blake Moore, to predominantly U.S. House 2, Celeste Malloy, and the Valley will have portions that are in U.S. House 3 under Mike Kennedy. Due to there being portions of the Valley now being in U.S. House 3, we need to divide 4 precincts, each into 2, and add 2 new precincts, totaling 6 new precincts. The precincts will change as follows. 29 CVO2 splits to make 29 CVO6. 29 CVO5 splits to make 29 CVO7 and 08. 29 OVO5 splits to make 29 OVO8 and 09, and 29 OVO6 splits to make 29 OVO7. We're currently working with GIS and UGRC on implementing these changes. These will need to be codified before the new year so that they're in place for declaration of candidacy. If we have questions about what the maps look like, Billy's happy to work with, or to explain them. These changes don't affect us in terms of work for anything other than our administrative work with these precincts, and there are no significant changes to boundaries outside of the congressional changes. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions?
None for me.
Just a comment. I just want the public to be, and they probably already are, those who are informed, to be well aware that in our county, these precincts divide not just the county, but also even households, as the line goes right through some houses. And so that'll be interesting, and thank you for figuring that in the future. That's a post or a pre, good luck on that, figuring that out. But there you go. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve that Resolution 62-2025 as presented by Ms. Schaefer and Ms. Hatch this morning.
I'll second that with a comment.
Okay.
So I just want to make a comment for those that look at this map. Having served on the 2010 redistricting committee for the state of Utah, this map seems a little odd to me, but again, this was directed by the courts, not by the legislative process. That being what it said, now at this point in time, we have to abide by the court order, and I appreciate the work of Mr. Ricky Hatch and the Elections Department and making sure that, that this conformed with that court order.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Roll call vote for Resolution 62-2025. Commissioner Harvey.
Aye.
Commissioner Faur.
Aye.
Chair Bolos.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you both. Thank you. Item 3, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Broken Heart Rodeo Company to hold the 2026 Intermountain Icebreaker at the Golden Spike Event Center. Duncan Olson, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Super excited about this year's Icebreaker. It's going to be the 15th annual. Last year, we had 19 states, Canada, and Australia all represented. We generated roughly over $500,000 of economic impact with this event. Super excited to partner with Ben and Broken Heart and provide the 15th annual Icebreaker. Questions?
Questions for Mr.
None for me.
Olson?
Comment, then a motion. Again, you know, when you're in the NFL, you can't play for the CFL, or you can't play for any other professional football league. Same with baseball. If you're in the, you know, Major League Baseball, or if you're with hockey, it's the same thing. You can't go down. But rodeo is different. So at this rodeo, many of the names that many people just spent their last nearly 3 weeks in Vegas cheering on will be at this rodeo. So the world's best will be at some of these rodeos at our Golden Spike. And so with that, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve this contract between Weber County and the Icebreaker Rodeo as presented by Mr. Olson this morning.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 4 is a request for approval of contract by and between Weber County and Event Lab to hold the terrain race at the Golden Spike Event Center.
Yeah, super excited about this one as well. There was actually 2 races. One, somehow it got slipped onto consent, but that Muddy Dash is actually part of this same deal with Event Lab. A couple months ago, I had an opportunity to go with Stephanie from Visit Ogden on a sales trip to Connect Marketplace, and we encountered a gentleman that works for Event Lab. We started some conversations and have just signed the contracts for the Muddy Dash and the terrain race, which will happen on the fairgrounds. Another large economic impact. It was held up at Soldier Hollow the last several years, and they wanted a change of venue, so they're going to come to us this year, hopefully driving a large economic impact as well. But also kudos to Stephanie and the team at Visit Ogden for being out there looking for events like this that are gonna help drive what we do.
Any questions? If not,
No, just
The reason it's on here is because we don't have a rate for
Right.
the facility. It's kind of gonna be running in and out of corners and on the racetrack and off the cross-country course and everywhere in between. And so we had to come up with a fair rate that included our labor and our workforce to help put this event on, but we're super comfortable with where we landed.
Commissioners, isn't it refreshing that we're using the area formerly, well, it still is, the cross-country course that used to be used in times 30 years ago. The cross-country course was used for nearly 20, 30 days a year. In the last 4 or 5 years, it's only been used 4 days a year. So it's been repurposed so that we can have other events out there which help sustain the Golden Spike Event Center. And just as a reminder, Weber County, the people who have residences in Weber County do not pay their property taxes to sustain our recreational facilities. Those facilities, even like cities, they are not sustained by recreational facilities. Those operating costs are paid for by tourism. Tourism is such a huge thing for Weber County that it supports our Golden Spike and our ice sheet and our Eccles Conference Center and our gun range and our Upper Valley Parks and on and on and on. We just we do a great job with tourism, and it's refreshing to have those here. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve that contract as presented by Mr. Olson today.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Commissioners.
much. Number 5 is a request for approval of an interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden Valley City for special events permitting services. Chris Crockett, and it says Bill Bill Ross, but I don't see Bill here.
Bill's back
Oh, there
there.
you are.
He's the great hair back there.
Commissioners, I'm happy to begin this presentation, reserving the rights to phone a friend if needed in presenting these. And with your permission, Chair, I'd like to provide some procedural history and just preface a couple of statements with all of the agreements that you're going to be seeing today with regards to the incorporation, if that's okay.
That'd be great.
Okay. Commissioners, today represents a big step in the process of the incorporation of a new city. It's a great day. This is just one of many steps in the middle, and the process will continue for some time. This process began several years ago with a community-led effort to place this as a ballot initiative on the ballot. It was an organized effort, very well run, well supported, and then it went to a vote. The voters approved it, and once that vote ended to incorporate, there were so many emotions, and everyone was so just wanting to know what happens next. As far as, how does this work? How are the logistics going to happen? What's the transition going to look like? And in doing that, I'm very proud of our county commission in insisting that we follow what the statute says. The statute sets forth exactly what the process is supposed to be. There's a point in time and place where we begin the process of negotiating that transition and setting up the framework. And that is with the election of a new city government, which just recently happened. During that time, we've seen comments from all different sides of the spectrum. Just people generally wanting to know what's going to happen in this area, of what to expect in the future. There have been several approaches to address this early, and one of those, and I'll briefly speak about it because it still is open and pending litigation, but one of the decisions was to sue the county in order to elicit a response. In that complaint, there were allegations of bad faith, various motives on the part of elected officials and county employees. A lot of money, public taxpayer dollars, was spent on litigating this lawsuit. It was also a lot forced interventions of various parties. A lot of emotion came about from this. These agreements that we present to you today are on the opposite side of that spectrum. It has been such a tremendous experience working with the new city officials. It's been very difficult, and what they've been tasked with is really, I can only describe as a Herculean task. For some reason, which I don't fully understand, the legislature has decided that there is such a short transitionary window to set up a city government, 30 days. And so a tremendous amount of work had to go into setting up these interlocal agreements on all sides, representatives from the city and also with county employees, county elected officials. What marks the difference between other approaches, and I'm not trying to dismiss any what people view as important issues. This is an approach. We were approached and have been treated with nothing but what I see as respect and dignity. And within such a short amount of time with both parties, that doesn't mean we agree on everything. You can expect disagreements throughout this process, but when you root it down in basic manners and respect and dignity, it's absolutely amazing what you can come up with. This has been a really rewarding process. What to expect in the future? I anticipate there's going to be amendments. There's going to be, it feels like we just summited the top of a giant mountain, and the only thing that we're going to see, I think we should step back, and depending on what happens today, I'm not, that's up to you. but step back and just be, wow, this is pretty amazing. We're about to welcome a new sister city into Weber County. And I think we all share the interest in setting this city up in the best position possible to succeed. The work isn't going to stop. We just got to this mountain, top of this mountain, and there's a larger mountain right behind it. It's like, you know that when you run a marathon and you question your motives right at mile 24, but when you cross that line, you feel this like, yes, we just did something. So there is a ton of work to do. It doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything, but we're going to, I think, build off of the momentum of this working together in a cooperative, respectful, professional manner between two elected bodies that have fiduciary responsibilities. I'm optimistic. That doesn't mean we're going to shy away from hard questions. And so with that, we are presenting several interlocals to you to consider as one of the first steps of the process of setting up this new city, which we expect their incorporation to happen within, I think, 11 days. I think the deadline to file the paperwork is tomorrow. The agreements that are going to be before you now are for to provide transitionary services for special permitting, special events permitting, law enforcement, and just to let you know, we did not get that one in the contract approval system, but that's going to, we've worked that out on the back end. Business licensing, and we're actually going to ask that you hold and table that one because we need to get some few more numbers to make sure that we present you with all the information necessary to make an informed decision. Road services, engineering services, and animal services, we're actually going to ask you to hold that one. So I believe there's 5, and at the end of all of this, and please tell me how you want me to proceed. I can do each agreement separately, and let you know what's in those agreements. I can do it all in one. I would just ask that for consistency of the minutes, we pass each one separately, and then I'm going to ask you to pass a resolution at the end that covers all of the agreements that you decide to pass.
Chris, if you look at your agenda, there's a 10.2, and that's the resolution. Should that be below, well, we're holding number 11, so I guess
I would
it
just,
will be okay where that's placed?
I don't have that copy in front of me, but I would just insert it at the end as a catch-all
Okay.
to cover all of the interlocals.
But you're asking us to hold the animal services one?
Animal services and also
Yes.
building inspections and permits.
Okay.
We need to do a little bit more work before we bring that to you for approval.
Building inspections and permits?
That one should be,
That's
oh,
8.
sorry,
I thought you said
number 8.
business licensing.
no, maybe I misspoke. We'll be doing the business licensing one.
We will, and we will not be doing permitting and inspection.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Chris, if you would just review all of them briefly, then I think that'll probably be the most efficient, and then we'll approve them one by one.
Yes. The one that went pretty straightforward is special events. The county will just be providing its services for processing those events. They'll work with the operations department. Do you want the specifics as far as the costs of that, or we sent those?
We've seen those.
Okay. So yeah, this is just probably the most straightforward, basic one.
Okay. One by one? Why don't you go through all of them?
Oh, and
We'll approve them one by one.
okay, I'll go through all of them. And then also, if you want, we also have Bill Ross and other department heads here, but we also have the elected city officials if you would like to hear about, have any questions for them through this. So with the law enforcement services, that is just bringing the new city into the other agreements that our sheriff's office has and providing law enforcement services for other municipalities to get them on the same schedule, same rate. We understand that we're looking at modifying that interlocal agreement in the future for all cities, but this is just to get them as part of that larger group.
Similar to Plain City or West Haven or Hooper or Uinta or all the other ones.
Correct. Business licensing, that would include all business licensing services, including alcohol, beer, short-term rentals. One key provision we put in there is that any of the city's new requirements that they put forth with regards to like short-term rentals, if they choose to do so, they just have to verify that they're in compliance with city requirements. Roads Division Services, that one is split out actually into a set fee. Anticipate services for 2026 and 2027. That one is going to be set up, or at least the way it's proposed right now, is to be set up into quarterly payments, where we'll invoice according to the terms of the agreement. But that's providing for both summer and winter services. Commissioner, did you have a question?
Nope.
Okay. Engineering services, just our standard services that we provide for engineering. Our engineer will work with a designated city representative to coordinate the provision of those services. One key thing that I neglected to mention earlier is that all of these agreements are flexible in that they anticipate a transition that gives the city the ability to, and the county at the same time, to modify these agreements as circumstances change, and we're anticipating a transitionary process where the city becomes more self-reliant, and they also have the option to choose to procure other services with other entities if they choose to do so. And also, the engineering agreement anticipates the transfer of certain public infrastructure, which happens automatically as by way of law, operation of law. When a city incorporates, for example, roads will automatically transfer to a city just by the way that they're designated under a statute. That's the basic guts of the agreement. Any questions that you have for me specifically?
Any questions for Mr. Crockett?
No questions. I do have some comments whenever you're ready. So I want to be clear on this. This is a high day for Weber County and the new city, simply because this has been a big work in progress for many. We wouldn't be here today without the help and the attitude of a number of people. I'm going to start with the people, and since a majority of these are actually in my portfolio, I've had quite a bit of discussion with the players involved, but when we sat down with my directors 3 or 4 months ago, we made it clear to those directors, and they agreed, that Weber County is here to be a partner with the new city under terms and conditions that they treat the county with similar partnership. And I want to make sure we give a shout out to Bill Ross, Sean Wilkinson, and the entire directors under Municipal Service. They've done an outstanding job, dedicated literally hours to this process. And just to explain how seriously the county has taken this, Mr. Chris Crockett actually was at work this past Saturday working on some final agreements that he didn't have to do. He didn't have to put that forth. And I can verify that because he actually made a phone call with me a little after 3 p.m. on Saturday. So Chris deserves a huge amount of credit. The other people that deserve credit on this, Mayor Wampler, Don Hickman, were some of the first to meet with me and ask about the process, what they could do. I think I made it very clear to the mayor that Weber County is glad to provide the services. We're also as glad not to provide the services if the city wants to go another direction. So by no means, for those that said the city or the county was required to do this, it's very clear in state statute that we do not. We came to this agreement because there was mutual agreement that this would be a future partnership of collaboration. And I appreciate that the mayor and Hickman and a couple other council members came to us with the idea that let's make this work. It was always the idea and intent of the county to make this work. It was never the idea to scuttle it. But I can tell you, at least in my opinion, I think it's pretty factual, that if it wouldn't have been for Mayor Wampler, we probably wouldn't be addressing these today.
Mr. Harvey? Any comments at this point?
Let me just finish here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought
Well-
we were ending your speech.
Well, I just wanted to give a last statement that I think would be important as we move forward. And that I would urge Mayor Wampler and members of the Ogden Valley City, urge the city to actively uphold the intent of these interlocal agreements, which were founded on future collaboration and good faith partnership. The commitment requires an accurate, transparent communication. Misinformation creates confusion, damages the public trust, and doesn't abide by the intent of these interlocals. We ask the city to formally engage, correct inaccuracies, and work with us as a trusted partner moving forward. Now is the time to recommit to collaboration and provide the public with clear, verified information they so deserve. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Commissioner Harvey.
If I might, Madam Chair, this is the reason I appreciate Commissioner Frohr so much. He just read a statement that's true. There's been so much misinformation for so long, and quite frankly, as a friend, what he and Gloria have had to endure by people who have been misled, and some intentionally, has not been right or good. It takes great people to stand up and do the right thing, to put their name on a ballot, and to try to make the best decisions they can under the laws and their experiences that they've had in the past. And I see Gage as an example of one of those people, and I respect all the things that have happened and where you are today, Commissioner Frohr. I just wanted to make a public comment out of this thing, because you've done a wonderful job, and I trust our staff. You've led the staff very well, and Sean, Bill, and the rest, all the department directors from the sheriff's office, all the other areas. You've done a phenomenal job helping set up this new city, and it's a great thing. I'm happy that they've got that local representation. It'll be a good thing. And I think as they continue to drink the largest Maverick drink they can in less than 10 seconds, it's going to get all down the front of them, and it'll be just fine. But some will go in, and you'll gradually get there, and it'll work out. We the people have made this sometimes really complicated to work in government. But it's a great thing, and it's a great learning thing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Wampler, would you like to speak for a moment?
Good afternoon. I'm Janet
It's not
Wamp.
afternoon yet.
Well,
We might get there.
yesterday rolled right into today, so.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Janet Wampler, Mayor of the new city of Ogden Valley. I do want to take a moment and say thank you to the county for all the time and the effort that you all have put into working with us in securing these interlocal agreements. We recognize that you are under no obligation to do so, and yet you have been nothing short of welcoming and a joy to work with. We have a special thanks to all the Weber County staff, especially Sean Wilkinson and team, Chris Crockett, Cortland Erickson as well as our finance team here in the county. They have been incredibly generous with their time. As you mentioned, working over weekends, we're working way into the night, and emails are going back and forth, and they really just have gone above and beyond. And we recognize that and very much appreciate that. So we very much look forward to a successful and a wonderful partnership with our county as we launch our new city. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. And I will just add, I appreciate you, Commissioner, for talking about those in your portfolio, because those really were the heavy lifts. As far as my portfolio goes, the animal shelter and the sheriff's office, we have contracts in place for other cities that we were able to just kind of mimic. So it was a lot of work, and I do appreciate Mayor Wampler and the council members and our staff. Thank you so much for working through this. And like Mr. Crockett said, we're just at the beginning. So, all right, we'll go back to number 5 then, and I would look for an approval of interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden Valley City for special events permitting services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Number 6, request for approval of an interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden Valley City for law enforcement services.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Number 7, request for approval of an interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden Valley City for business licensing services.
Motion to hold.
This one,
No.
we're holding number 8.
Hold number 8.
Are we holding 7?
The one for, I have it as number 7 for business licensing.
We're holding business licensing. That's what I
Oh,
thought.
so I'm so sorry.
Okay,
But we are holding licenses?
all right, look for a motion.
We're going to approve business
We're approving business
licensing.
licenses.
Hold the next one. My
Thank you.
apologies.
Okay, thank you. I was listening very closely. Motion to approve 7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 8, we will hold. Number 9, request for approval of an interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden Valley City for roads division services.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Item 10, request for approval of an interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden Valley City for engineering division services and the transfer of public infrastructure.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to skip to 11, just to mention that we are going to hold that. And then I'm going to go back to item 10.2, which was added to the agenda. Chris, will you talk about how we were able to add that?
Yes. Cortland emailed me and said, "You forgot to do this." So,
Does that mean he's right?
Cortland's always right. Everybody needs a Cortland in their life to help them. Part of the Interlocal Cooperation Act is that certain interlocal agreements are required by statute to be accompanied by a resolution. And so this is it's a simple resolution that identifies the interlocal agreements that are being passed today with the ones that doesn't include the ones that have been held, just to satisfy the statutory requirements. It wasn't noticed on the agenda, but given the number of times we put interlocals on the agenda, I felt confident that we were in conformity with the Open and Public Meetings Act to add this to the agenda.
Thank you. So item 10.2 is a request for approval of Resolution 63-2025 of the County Commissioners of Weber County adopting the previously approved interlocal agreements with Ogden Valley City.
Madam Chair, move to approve Resolution 63-2025 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Roll call vote for Resolution 63-2025. Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Commissioner Faur?
Aye.
Chair Bolos?
Aye, motion carries. And Chris, just by way of information, now these will go to the leadership in Ogden Valley City, and they will adopt the agreements as well, correct?
So there's some flexibility under the statute that allows the city to actually enter into these agreements now, and so we can actually have them signed. But there's a formal process once they convene that the mayor, that has to be ratified within, I believe, 30 days of the formal incorporation. So there will be a 2-step approval, but you can go ahead and receive signed documents from the new city now.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, item 12, request for approval of a real property lease agreement by and between Weber County and Weber Housing Authority. Bill Ross, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is pretty simple. We have spaces available here in the Weber Center that we lease out to different agencies and some companies. We have a space available that the Weber Housing Authority approached us on to lease from the county. It's here on the first floor, just around the corner. It's about a little over 1,600 square feet of property they'll lease for office space to run the Weber Housing Authority. And so we're here to present that lease as we have other tenants in the building and for your approval. Pretty simple.
Any questions for Mr. Ross?
None for me. Happy
Okay.
to make a motion when you're ready.
Please.
Before I do so, we want to recognize Andy Beatles, who's the director in the back. She's been an integral part of this, and I just as a member of the Weber County Authority Board, Weber Housing Authority Board. I think this is a great spot for the Housing Authority to be involved in Weber Center. So it'd be great office space. So move to approve the lease agreement by and between Weber County and the Weber Housing Authority as presented by Mr. Bill Ross this morning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank
Thank you. Item 13 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Julie George for Indigent Capital Defense Council Service. Jim Rutalick.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is seeking approval of a special contract for defense in the only capital case that the state of, or that Weber County is pursuing. And it's two very qualified attorneys. We had to modify the previous contract because the lead counsel withdrew from that case. And so this is Julie George and David Ferguson, who the contracts are being approved for.
Okay, we'll do these as separate agenda items, Commissioners. Item 13 is with Julie George.
Julie George. Is this, excuse me,
Yeah.
comment? So I'm assuming this is related to the Lovell case?
That's correct.
Is that correct? And this is the
Yes.
co-counsel?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm fairly familiar with this. I'd move to approve the contract between Weber County and Julie George for Indigent Defense Capital Defense as service as provided by Mr. Jim Rutalick this morning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And number 14 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and David Ferguson for Indigent Capital Defense Council Service.
David Ferguson will be second chair in this particular case and assisting Julie George as primary counsel.
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Item 15, request for approval of resolution 64-2025, adopting the operating and capital budgets of Weber County for calendar year 2026 and declaring the county's intent to pick up a certain percentage of members' contributions to the Utah State Retirement System. Ms. Stephanie Ebert, welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, as you're aware, we started this process clear back in August with the departments, and we went through working with budget hearings in October. I was flying solo this year, so I wanted to take a minute and let everyone in the departments who assisted with budgets, as well as each of you commissioners, how appreciative I was this year of the help that you gave to me, and how grateful I am for everybody and their work that they did in this process. Our tentative budget has been online since October 27th, and we held a public hearing on the budget on November 25th for anyone who wanted to comment there. We have had a few changes since the tentative budget was presented, and I will outline these changes or these adjustments now. We had a few adjustments related to our compensation study that we had this year, and so those are included in the final budget. Weber County offers a student loan reimbursement program, and we actually had a larger number of individuals in our of employees that responded to that application process, and so we have asked for an increase in that amount. We added an amount to our attorney's office based on a contract for capital defense on the Doug Lovell case, and that's on the prosecution side. We've also had an increase request for our wildland fire warden contribution contract that we partner with Weber Fire District and the wildland fire for those services. We had a request for some additional cameras at our animal shelter, and we also refined our impact study plan expenditures for this year. We had some amendments to our municipal services budget based on the contracts that were presented here today, and we also had some minor internal adjustments that just involved moving items from one line item to another. The final thing I wanted to bring up today was some adjustments that we had to make in our sheriff's office. We reduced our enforcement division revenue by $400,000, and have added a $400,000 expenditure reduction in their budget. We also had reduced a captain position in the tentative budget. We've added that position back into the final budget, which is being funded by a reduction in the jail's contract services line. So I think that really sums up all of the changes from the tentative to the final budget. So I am here just to ask for your approval of a resolution adopting the operating and capital budgets for Weber County for 2026 and declaring the county's intent to pick up a percentage of the members' contributions to the Utah State Retirement System.
Commissioners, I have a few comments, but I'll go to you first. Any comments you'd like to make?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just appreciate the work of Ms. Ebert that's gone through this in great detail. We've actually been through this in a couple of meetings, so we've looked at this. I fully support this resolution and operating changes to the budget.
Madam Chair, thank you, and I'm hoping you'll piggyback on a couple of these. To start things off, I want to thank the collaboration of Weber Fire and also the state of Utah for the wildland forestry, where we did a partnership that the increase in that contribution for wildland forest protection is split equally between the three, so the burden doesn't have to fall on our taxpayers solely. So I really appreciate that. I also, I'm glad to know that with Emily and Human Resources, we did a very comprehensive pay study. We've been able to make whole those salaries for our first responders. In this budget, and I'm really grateful for that. And I really appreciate, and I don't mean to publicly embarrass you, Stephanie, but I've done it before, so I'll keep doing it. There's a lot of times when I'd be leaving super late or over a weekend, like you mentioned, and Stephanie's car would still be in the parking lot, making sure things were right. Every employee in this room should have at least some small debt of gratitude. She's just poured out her heart and soul into this. All the while that she became a grandma for the first time, and what that would do, and just, I'm so glad that you're here, and appreciate you so much for your love and care for your job and position, that you'd go to this extent to make sure that everything's taken care of. Your great work has not gone unnoticed. It's a lot of time it goes unappreciated. Thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I would echo what both of you said about Stephanie, and I won't embarrass you too much, but I will ask you later what time you went to bed last night. I was going to hold that for not a public place, but this is only my third budget with the county, and I've never seen 11th hour changes like we had. We were in the office yesterday making changes, and that's partly on us, and we wanted to get some things right, and it really is impactful. So thank you, Steph. I really appreciate that. There were a couple of things I wanted to mention. One that the sheriff asked me to mention as we went through this approval. One of their budget requests was for 10 additional deputies for the contract cities. And as commissioners, we decided to eliminate that from their budget request, anticipating that when they are fully staffed and ready and able to fill 10 additional positions to help those contract cities, then we would entertain a mid-year amendment to the budget. That would be a zero impact to the budget because it would be 10 deputies. Their vehicles, their equipment, and all that would be billed directly to the contract cities. There have been requests, not only by the cities, but also by the sheriff himself, looking for better coverage out on those cities. So that is something that we did withdraw from their requests and would entertain at a later time. And the sheriff asked me to mention that because that's important, and I know that that's something they've been working toward for a while. So also, Commissioner Harvey, you mentioned the increases due to the salary compensation study. The total on that, I believe, was 5 million for the county. Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's about right.
I've done math a lot of different ways in my head. 3.5 million of that went to the sheriff's office. And so we're confident that we've done the right thing. We've followed the direction of our HR director, Emily Wild, who felt very passionate about the compensation and how we should react. I think all three of us last year, when we pledged to do this study, pledged to implement it the way that it was requested. Not included in the study was the upper executives of the county, and our HR director took a look at that. And that resulted in an increase, which we approved a couple of meetings ago with a public hearing, increase of 10 to 13% for the chiefs at the sheriff's office as well. We feel like it's a lot of money, but I think all three of us feel like we've done the right thing. And I will say that early on in this process, the sheriff, we asked the sheriff to come to the table with some. Part of that, I think we're about $400 short, and you mentioned that, Stephanie, that we decreased expenses. We aren't sure where yet, but they're committed to help find that through the year.
Right.
And I think it's been a great partnership. So, Sheriff, thanks to your office for the hard work, and I probably shouldn't tell anybody that you were the ones in our office at the 11th hour, but we're happy to have been there with you, and happy for the conversations that we've had and the support that you've given us through this. It's been a long process, and so I appreciate that. So those are the comments I have, Commissioners. I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve Resolution 64-2025, adopting the operating and capital budgets of Weber County for calendar year 2026, declaring the county's intent to pick up certain percentages of members' contribution to the Utah State Retirement System. I'd like to make a comment,
Please.
if I might. So you brought up the sheriff's office. It's great to see our sheriff's department. I think hopefully they understand how much we appreciate them as we've gone through these pay studies and looked at the budget. We can't give you gentlemen and deputies, ladies, enough thanks for what you do for this county and this community. I'd also say that this process started back in October. This was not, when we do these budgets, this was not a quick process. We did sometimes 3 or 4 meetings a week. The public was invited to participate, or at least be there for those. And the other departments in this county came together, and basically, sometimes in the past, county departments can come in and ask for a little more than they actually need. Because of your direction, Madam Chair, which I appreciate, all these departments came to us with solid conservative budgets, so that allowed us to pass another budget another year without a tax increase, which I think is very critical to what we do as Weber County Commissioners. So I just wanted to make sure that you know, departments, how much we appreciate you looking at the dollars you spend, understanding that our top priority is taxpayer dollars and how we can make sure those are spent in the best, efficient, and effective manners to benefit the entire public, not just a certain group.
That was a motion.
That was a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Roll call vote for Resolution 64-2025. Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Commissioner Farrar?
Aye.
Chair Bolos?
Aye, the motion carries. Thanks again, Steph. There is one thing I'd like to add. I don't know if I've said it in a commission meeting. I've said it to a couple different groups I've spoken to, and the question always would be, if you made a $5 million adjustment in salaries countywide, how are you paying that without a tax increase? And this was brought to us initially by Scott Park, and then Stephanie helped work through this with us, and that is that historically the county has transferred money at the end of every year into our capital projects fund, and as commissioners we chose to prioritize the employees' salaries over that. We'll still be making a transfer, but not as much, and so that's the answer to the question that might be in your minds right now.
Good point.
Okay, item 16 is a discussion and/or action regarding ordinance 2025-29 and potential development agreement rezoning approximately 28.65 acres of property located at approximately 3767 East, 4100 North in the unincorporated Ogden Valley from the agricultural AV3 zone to the agricultural A1 zone, also known as the Boren rezone. Mr. Charlie Ewert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You guys looked at this in public hearing last week, so no public hearing today, unless you want to hear from the public. You had 4 primary questions that you wanted answered before you made a decision on this item here. One of them was about septic systems or sewer. The other one was about TDRs. The third one was about pathway potential, and the fourth one was about other potential improvements. I shot you all an email late last week, hopefully answering each of these questions. The applicant had asked for just a straight rezone. We had, as staff, recommended to the Planning Commission to deny just a straight rezone, giving the applicant a chance to petition to you guys not just a straight rezone, but a rezone with a development agreement to make the request a little more in compliance with the Ogden Valley General Plan is the direction that the applicant desired to go if that was the only option that they had to get an approval, if approval was desirable. So just to recap on those 4 items, one of the requests was that this project be hooked up to sewer. I don't think sewer is going to be in this area anytime soon, but the applicant has committed to providing advanced treatment wastewater systems. If it's individual wastewater systems or if it's a community-wide wastewater system, or excuse me, a development-wide wastewater system, they've committed to advanced treatment systems. And that was a comment that was actually brought up by a member of the public from the Ogden Valley. If this does get approved, they really should be looking at not just the traditional septic systems. As far as the TDRs go, that has been written into the development agreement that if they do get excess density above what the AB3 zone will allow them to have now, they need to bring those in from elsewhere on the valley floor using the same language that's in the existing TDR code for the form-based zone. As far as pathways go, the development agreement shows that they're going to be responsible for building a pathway in the power line corridor from Highway 162 over to their project. So that'll at least get that paved pathway project started for that community. The other thing that can happen with that, they could always work with the city if this does go through and use the same amount of resources that go into building that pathway to build a pathway somewhere else. There was a couple of commenters in the public hearing for the Planning Commission that said east-west pathways are great, but we really need north-south pathways to get people from the north down to the community center. And so that's certainly something the applicant could work with the city on doing. And as far as other improvements go, we're looking at improvements on 4100 North. You know, the county has just finished the missing segment of 4100 North. We'd be looking for this applicant to improve this project's frontage of 4100 North to that same standard. So that would be if you approve the rezone and the development agreement. Your other options are to just approve the rezone without the development agreement, that just get him exactly what he's asking for without these 4 items, or deny. And I'm here for any other questions if you have any.
Questions or comments?
None questions from me.
I'm the one that asked about the sewer. I don't want to negative, I've got the comments from the public hearing last week. I don't want to negatively impact any of the people that are there. But I don't have any issues as long as he's got a advanced treatment wastewater plant there and some of those other things. He'll have to bring TDRs. I don't want any more density on the valley floor. He would have to bring those TDRs in for that. But the other things you talked about in the development agreement would supersede any kind of anything else, correct?
Yeah, that's right. There's one comment that was made by members of the public. I can't remember if it was in your hearing or the Planning Commission hearing that said it's illegal to do TDRs without an ordinance that allows TDRs, without a law that allows TDRs. The ordinance that you would be adopting includes the TDR sending and receiving area. So
I just have to make sure that isn't this area in the receiving area?
it's just adjacent to a village area. What would make it a receiving area would be the ordinance you'd be adopting if you do adopt that ordinance.
And that's the part where you showed the circle in the receiving area, right?
Yep, that village center.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we just hold this and let this off to the new city.
Motion to table?
Motion to table and put it off to the new city.
I'm going to second that motion, and again, the reason for that is I think I've made it clear on a number of occasions that, to the Planning Commission, a number of others that have asked, that I don't think it within our, even though it's within statute, it's not within what I would call ethical legislative approval to give additional density at this point in time. I've always said I'm in favor, which we've done in the past, of preserving rights so that those landowners at least have some stake, that they know that the new city could not take rights away. But I don't feel that it's proper to give additional rights at this point in time. So I'm going to second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Thank you. And then item 17, discussion and/or action on ordinance 2025-30 and development agreement rezoning approximately 6 acres from the FV3 zone to the FB zone in the unincorporated Weber County area known as Nordic Valley. This is also known as the maybe rezone.
Thank you, Commissioners. So on this one, similar circumstances, the previous one, applicants asking to rezone to a different zone. They are immediately adjacent to an existing form-based zone right across the street from Nordic Valley. I can't even remember if that's Drive or Way. There's too many Nordic Valley streets over there. But they're right across the street from the existing form-base. A little bit of confusion about what the form-based zone does and doesn't do. The form-based zone as it applies to this property would only allow single-family residential. You guys made sure that was clear in your last discussion, that if a development agreement is signed and if the rezone is agreed to, that it would only be for single-family residential. Form-based zone only allows small lot residential on this site as well. So a lot of confusion about whether or not multifamily and commercial and mixed use and all that kind of stuff can happen. That's not the case. The form-based zone very clearly stratifies where single-family, multifamily, commercial can go. And that's very well documented in the proposed development agreement. The applicant has also he started out wanting 10 single-family dwelling lots. He's brought that down to 6, as you guys know, with an average size of about an acre apiece. So it's about the same size as most of the lots in the Nordic area, with the exception of a few to the west of this property. So they've got a development agreement that they've agreed to. If you guys are in agreements to that, you've got a rezone ordinance in front of you as well. Anything that they bring to the project more than the 2 that already exist on the 6 acres, as far as units go, would need to be transferred in. So if they got 6, they need to bring those 4 from somewhere else.
Questions for Mr. Ewart?
No questions. I'm happy to make a motion when you're ready.
Please.
So for similar concerns I addressed in the previous issue, I'm going to move to hold 2025-30, even though I think that's a worthwhile project. There seems to be, and as Charlie mentioned, a lot of confusion on the form-based zone. Again, I think it's probably proper that this go to the new city for discussion. And I appreciate Mr. Maybe decreasing some of his his TDR request, et cetera. But at the same time, it is an increase in lots, so that's my motion.
Motion to table. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Did you get that, Mr. Brent? Thank you. Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. We'll now go to item H, which is public hearings. Before I request a motion to adjourn the public meeting, I just want to mention a couple of things to the public who are here. If you emailed the commissioners, I can say that I read all of those emails. I, again, did not respond because I was out of town, but I finished them up last night. There's not a need to speak again if you've emailed us. I assume you've read them all, both of you? So you don't need to reiterate those comments. Those have been taken into consideration. I would also like to point out that if someone else makes a point that you were going to make, there's not a need to repeat that. We're not keeping score. We're considering points. So if it's a new point, we'd love to hear that to consider. Otherwise, we'll just write those points down as we hear them. So with that, Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the public meeting and convene public hearings.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're now in a public hearing. The first item is for the 2026 Community Block Grant Program, also known as CDBG, and the presenter is Mr. Chad Meyerhofer. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, what we have before you is the first public hearing, and this is part of the first requirement for the CDBG process. And so this public hearing is really an opportunity to have representatives from nonprofits or anybody from the public to give us any type of potential projects that we could use for applying for CDBG funds. So just to make sure I cover everything all the way, I'm just going to read through this to make sure we get everything covered. So the purpose of this public hearing is to provide citizens with pertinent information about the Community Development Block Grant Program and to allow for discussion of possible applications for the 2026 funding cycle. The grant money must be spent on projects benefiting primary low and moderate income persons. The Wasatch Front Regional Council, in which Weber County is a member, is expected to receive approximately $1 million plus or minus in this new program year. All eligible activities that can be accomplished under this program are identified in the CDBG application, policies and procedures manual, and interested persons can review it at any time. Several of the eligible activities listed including examples such as construction of public works and facilities, example water and sewer lines, fire stations, acquisition of real property, provisions of public services such as food banks or homeless shelters. In the past, Weber County as a whole has sponsored the Weber Housing Authority in a project that offers incentives for first-time home buyers. In the past, Weber County has received grants for modifications of restrooms for the Weber County Library to bring them more in compliance with ADA standards, and emergency housing rehabilitation projects that was administered through the Weber Housing Authority. Developing ADA-compliant campsites, installing ADA-compliant door hardware playgrounds, installing storm drains in low to moderate income communities to reduce flooding, installing wheelchair ramps at intersections to make pedestrian sidewalk more accessible, as well as sponsoring nonprofit agencies such as Your Community Connection, Ogden Weber Community Action Agency, and Catholic Community Services, and others. The county has handed out its capital investment plan as part of the regional consolidated plan, and this list shows which projects the county has identified as being needed in the community. And at this time, with your permission, just ask for those individuals if they'd like to come forward. I know Andy Beatles is here. She was looking at 2 projects, and it may just be 1 project now, but she can give you a little bit more information on what that project is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll open it up to public comments now then, and we ask that you limit comments to 3 minutes. Anyone like to come forward? Okay, seeing none, then we will move to item 4, which is a public hearing to discuss amendments to the operating and capital budget of Weber County for the 2025 calendar year. Welcome back.
Hi. All right, as Commissioner Bolos, as you mentioned in my presentation for the 2026 budget, you mentioned that there's an opportunity to open the budget back up if there's amendments that need to take place. And so that's what I'm doing here. We try to do these quarterly. Whenever there's a budget amendment or budget amendments, we are required to hold a public hearing to go over what those are. And so I'm here now to talk about hopefully our final quarterly budget amendments for 2025. The majority of the budget amendments that we had this quarter were just additional revenues that we received that were required in the offsetting expenses. So for example, we received a donation a number of years ago from the Dumke Foundation to our Period Egyptian Theater, and we're just transferring money from that donation to pay for some audiovisual equipment in our theater. We also have some ramp funding that funded a dino exhibit at the Golden Spike Arena, and we have some restricted funding in our homicide task force that we are just reallocating to spend for those expenses. We also had a very large escrow that came in from a developer that our trust account wasn't able to handle in the budget that was available. So we received the money there, and we're just asking to increase that budget to return those funds when the developer completes the required projects. We had some additional revenues come in in our conference center, our ice sheet, our shooting range, and our sewer budgets that we just need to offset those expenses with. And then we had a requirement to, we have in our redevelopment agency, we have an amount that we need to pay out for contributions based on taxes that come in. And then, as has been mentioned a couple of times, we had some expenditures for both prosecution and defense in the capital case dealing with Doug Lovell. And so that is on there as well as another transfer of interest to our Egyptian Theater Foundation. So those are the items that are on the budget change for 2025.
Any questions for Ms. Ebert?
None for me.
Okay, then I would open it up to public comments, so don't go too far. Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak to these amendments?
You got the sheriff coming up.
Please state your name and the city where you live.
Brian
And your
Arvin.
address and
I live
cell
in
phone
North
number.
Ogden.
Email.
I just wanted to express appreciation and gratitude to you commissioners, to Julie in my office and our executive staff, Stephanie Ebert and Emily from HR for the hard work on the budget. This is wonderful. I also want to express gratitude and thanks on behalf of our staff, the 100 members of the community that have reached out to me in the last several years to work on staffing pay, and also the leaders of those cities that we contract. Thank you very much. And I just want to end by welcoming the new city in the Upper Valley, that they will have the best law enforcement services in the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Anyone else who would like to come forward at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item 6, a public hearing for discussion and/or action on a development agreement to preserve development rights, timing of project development, and overall project layout for approximately 19.32 acres located at approximately 700 South, 7900 East, Huntsville, Utah, 84317 in the AV3 zone. The file number is ZDA 2025-12. Ms. Tammy Adelot, welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
You have before you a request to consider a development to preserve development rights, to allow for extended timing of this development, and for an opportunity to possibly extend the term of this development agreement. So this subject property is a little over 19 acres. Applicant is requesting to preserve 6 development rights as is currently permitted in the AV3 zone. What the applicant is offering is connectivity to the east. So when we look at this piece, they are proposing a 60-foot wide right-of-way from 7900 East towards 8400. And there's about 50 to 60 acres of undeveloped land between the subject parcel and 8400 East. So as you know, when we go through these development agreements, there's often some negotiation between the applicant and the county, as these agreements are discretionary. You have in your packet, in your staff report as an exhibit, the proposed layout of what this would look like at some point. Each of the lots in this concept plan meet or exceed the minimum area and width for zoning. Developer is seeking a 10-year term with the opportunity to extend by 5 years, up to 3 times at the discretion of the developer and the county or the city. Do you have any questions for me?
I do have one question. This is very similar to 2 that we've done recently. The terms sound a little different. 10 years with an option to extend for 5?
Right. So maximum this could go would be 25 years.
And we did one a couple weeks ago that was 20 years, is that right?
It was 30 years actually.
Okay.
And it allows for some of these proposals where the intent is to allow for family to develop. It allows for them to come in whenever they are ready to do so.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
None for me.
Any questions, Commissioner?
I will mention that timing was proposed by the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
On both of those?
Yes.
Does this comply with the existing use that's currently zoned and everything else there?
It does. The applicant could come in and submit a 6-lot subdivision, and this would be recommended for approval.
And this item was not necessarily needed to be heard by the Planning Commission, correct?
This actually, for a development agreement, yes. If it were just coming in as a subdivision, is that your question, Commissioner?
It's not a subdivision, is it?
No, not
That's
at
it.
this time.
That's it.
So-
I knew the answer to the question before I answered it, but I wanted to hear you say it.
I do want to mention that this was initially noticed to be heard on December 2nd by the Ogden Valley Planning Commission, but some noticing requirements were not met, and so it was presented with an opportunity for the Ogden Valley to be able to submit comments and concerns. It was formally heard on December 9th. The Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation with no concerns. I have not received, outside of a couple of questions from the public, I haven't received any concerns with this project.
Was that recommendation a unanimous vote?
It was.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will then, Commissioners, open it up to public comment. So don't go too far, Tammy, in case we have questions. If there's anyone in the public who'd like to come forward, we'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name and your city of residence.
Mason Frower, Ogden, Utah.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm here to respectfully request approval for the development and recordation on 19.3 acres without the typical phasing timelines, while preserving the 6 existing development rights already attached to this property. This request does not add new density or create new impacts. It simply allows me to retain and responsibly use the rights that already exist. For me, this isn't just a technical land use matter. It's about protecting my future, and not only my future, but my future children's future. I am a 7th generation resident of this valley. I've lived here for majority of my life, and this valley is home. It's where my values were shaped and where I hope to raise a family of my own. Allowing this flexibility gives me the ability to plan for long-term family needs rather than being forced into rigid timelines that may not reflect economic realities or what's best for the land. It ensures that the opportunities this property already holds can one day benefit my children and allow them to build their lives in the same community that shaped generations of my family before them. What I'm asking for is simply the chance to protect what I already have, to plan responsibly, and to secure a future that keeps my family connected to this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to come forward? Okay, seeing none, we will move to item 8, public hearing for discussion and/or action regarding an amendment of the Wolf Creek Development Agreement as it applies to property located at approximately 3301 North Wolf Creek Drive. The amendment is for allowance of a park and ride lot and related uses to serve the Powder Mountain Ski Resort. Mr. Charlie Ewart.
Commissioners, thank you again. Just before I forget, I wanted to make sure I made note that the applicant is here and would like to address you guys if you would like to hear it. I also want to make note that in the Planning Commission meeting, I think your memo mentions that the vote to recommend denial of this project was a 5-0 vote. It's my understanding that one of the Planning Commissioners stepped out at that time, and so it was only a 4-0 vote. So I just want to make sure that was clear in the record. Okay, so this item, you guys each know the project area. It's right over off of Highway 158 as you head up towards Wolf Creek. The applicant is requesting a 610 lot or 610 parking space parking lot. Thank you, on that site for park and ride for their resort up at the top of the mountain. The park and ride will be a place that UTA can link up, that their shuttle, mountain shuttles can link up, and where other commuters can park and jump on a bus to get up to the mountain. It will essentially save the space between the park and ride up to the top of the mountain. It'll save a lot of traffic impact on that area. But from my evaluation, from the park and ride down to the Ogden Valley floor, there's probably a negligible effect on traffic. It'll be about the same either way, whether people in cars are driving to the top of the mountain or driving to this location. As I originally was looking at this project, and I told the Planning Commission this, I thought my initial gut reaction was to recommend denial of it, just seeing that it would cause some pretty big impacts to the community. As I went through the general plan, however, I was able to tease out a few suggestions that the general plan has, supporting recreational endeavors in the valley, finding ways to help that economic side, the recreational side of things, support the economic side of the community. And so then it wasn't a question of whether or not it was in compliance with the general plan, it was a question of whether or not the detrimental effects could be managed and mitigated effectively. You do have a subdivision that is right to the west of the property. You've got people who live in that subdivision right now. And I was able to get out there, walk the property, walk the site, and see what they would be able to see from that side of things. And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure we recommended was really robust screening between that neighborhood and the parking lot if the parking lot does get approved. And just as a caveat, we're not approving a parking lot, we are approving their right to obtain a parking lot if that approval does go through today. What that means is that final design, final landscaping, all that is not done yet. Everything that would be in that development agreement and in that approval will just enable them to apply with the city to go through that process. It would entitle them to approval as long as they are able to show the city that they can meet the requirements of the development agreement and the requirements of the land use regulations. As far as mitigation of detrimental effects, between that neighborhood to the west and the parking lot, they have proposed at least a 5-foot tall berm. One of the things that I've asked them to add into their development agreement, that berm be situated in a way that if you're standing on the ground in the backyard of those houses, you cannot see the parking lot behind that berm. A 5 feet's not super tall berm. I'm 6 feet, so I should be able to see over that. However, the way that the property slopes towards Highway 158, I think with a little bit of grade change and reduction in elevation on the parking lot surface, that they could probably hide the whole thing behind a berm, if not behind the berm with a little wall or a little bit of trees. So landscaping and screening is going to be very important. They've also, so they volunteered to do that at our request. They've also volunteered to make sure that berm wraps around the property so it creates intermittent views from Highway 158 of the parking lot, not just a straight view of asphalt in the parking lot. One of the great things about the current code, unless the city changes the rules, is that the current code requires a lot of trees to go into parking lots. So in the middle of the summer times when the parking lot's probably mostly empty, they are still going to be required to have a tree canopy of some sort in that parking lot area. That's not easy for a resort to do because a lot of times they want a big wide open space to push snow around. But they've agreed to following those standard rules that we have in place right now. Another thing that they've offered is a paved pathway. One of the challenges that they're going to have with that paved pathway, so the paved pathway that they're talking about is along Wolf Creek, or at least close to parallel to Wolf Creek. One of the challenges is they don't have acquisition of all the private property that would be necessary to make that, nor do they know that they're going to get that acquisition from those landowners. And so they have committed to the development agreement to working with the city and affected stakeholders, including those landowners, to try and acquire either a right-of-way or easement to put that paved pathway next to Wolf Creek. If they can't get it, then they'd be relieved from that responsibility. But if they can, in cooperation with the city, get it from those landowners, they'd be responsible for installing that pathway. And we're asking for a 10-foot wide paved pathway. And that pathway would extend from Highway 162 up to the power line corridor that I talked about in the last item we discussed. Long-term ideal would be that east-west power line corridor paved multi-use pathway would be constructed by the community and by other developers in the future that this one would then extend to. Further long-term would be that Wolf Creek pathway continue up along the Wolf Creek to make a good connection up to 4100 North, where the county just installed a brand-new pathway up there, and where we know that the bridges and the exchange and Eagle Landing, Eagle Crest, thank you, where they're all putting in pathways to try and create an interconnected network of community pathways in the valley. I thought that was really important, a really important give that the applicant was offering. As far as my recommendation for approval to the Planning Commission and to you guys, it's right on the line. It's not a slam dunk deal, but I do think that there are some betterments that this developer can bring to the community as long as the detriments of this parking lot are adequately compensated for. They've also offered the back portion of their property as a public park and recreation area for the community to use as a mountain bike track, and they'll be bringing a pathway from the Wolf Creek, from the east western side of the property, through their property to connect to Highway 158. So that'll give you just a little bit more connectivity in that area as well. 610 units, they brought 610 parking spaces. They brought that down from 800. They listened to what the Planning Commission's concerns were and what a lot of the concerns of the public were. They reworked the proposed development agreement to try and address a lot of those items. It's hard to address the concerns that say we just don't want this, but where there was impacts that were discussed by the community residents, they wanted to make sure that they were sensitive to those things. So,
what's that number again, Charlie?
How many parking spaces? 610. Yep, in the development agreement. So brought down from 800. One of the items that isn't, so this is in the AB3 zone. The AB3 zone, as it applies to this property, is abridged by the Wolf Creek Development Agreement. Wolf Creek Development Agreement says this specific property in the AB3 zone needs to remain as open space. A few years back, I think the applicant put together a pretty good argument that a parking lot could be open space because open space is defined as being open from the ground up. However, as the planning division, we pushed back on that pretty hard because we felt like the improvements made it not quite the open space that I think the community was thinking that they would get there. And so that's why they're going through this process to ask for that rule change to happen so that they could potentially get the parking lot while also mitigating detrimental effects. One other concern that was brought up at the Planning Commission meeting was the concern of idling cars. People going up, waiting for the bus, sitting in their car with the heater on, causing some challenging air quality issues. They have volunteered to implement a no idle rule and to work closely hand in hand with the city to figure out how to enforce that effectively. And they have agreed to be on the hook to enforce that. So they're looking forward to, if this does get approved, working with the city to make sure that is a viable solution. And in response to that, they are making sure that their bus terminal is large enough and is heated so that people can be outside of their vehicles waiting for the bus in a climate-controlled area. So I've heard we had a lot of responses to the Planning Commission, a lot of emails to the Planning Commission requesting for this to be denied. We had a number that were in favor, and you guys have, and I have received over the last week a number more in favor and a couple against. Quite a few more in favor, actually, and a couple against. I was also contacted by some folks at the WFRC yesterday asking what manner they could support good transportation connectivity in the valley and for the Wasatch Front. I think it's no secret that we would all prefer, to some degree, for Park and Ride to be located on the Wasatch Front, below the canyon, whether that's in Mountain Green or at the mouth of Weaver Canyon or at the mouth of Ogden Canyon. It'd be great to see it there. The applicant will probably explain to you why that's not as viable for them. It has a lot to do with how much time people want to spend on a bus. But Wasatch Front Regional Council also echoed that it would be phenomenal if there was a way to get that on this side of the mountain. However, applicant isn't asking for that, and they don't have the property on this side of the mountain to do that. So I think that's an important constraint to consider. I think that gives my full presentation. Any questions for me, or did I leave anything out that you guys want me to address?
I don't think so. If the applicant would like to come forward, you're welcome to. I would just ask that, in the interest of time, if it's something that Mr. Ewert's already covered, we don't have to hear that again necessarily, but you're welcome to add anything.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I will amend my statements because Charlie did an exceptional job of covering many of the points, so I'll summarize. We did listen very carefully to the Ogden Valley Planning Commission, and we're very interested in incorporating the comments, not only that the public had at that meeting, but that we've received through other stakeholder meetings, and also sitting down and working with staff. And so what you have in front of you today is a culmination of responding and making sure that the agreement addresses everything that we possibly thought would make a very workable agreement for the community there in Ogden Valley, but also for us as a resort. So to abridge those comments, the 8 acres of the public recreation is now a guaranteed element within the development agreement. We additionally pushed and amended the plan to create a bigger buffer, specifically between the residential uses west of the property and the parking lot itself. We did take the number down that was originally proposed in the first development agreement that we had put together. One of the things that was of interest to the community also was to look at returning a wolf barn type structure to the site. And so although that barn itself wasn't worthwhile saving, we want to place that structure in a very similar format back on the property, along with the iconic wolf. The bus stop terminal, as was mentioned, was increased in size, but we also heard that the community would like us to consider, if it in fact is used as well as we intend it to be, that the wolf barn structure would be an amenity that could be used for that warming feature. One of the things also heard was the about night lighting. And the dark sky ordinance just isn't enough. And so we beefed up the agreement with a commitment not only of when the lights could be on and off in terms of seasons, but also hours of the day, which I think is a really important feature for the community. And we committed to a timeline, which I think we all would appreciate, to change that site from the current outdoor storage to eliminate that. And if the city wants to work with us, it would begin as early as this summer to remove the storage that's there and also take down the structures, so we could actually also start to implement the improvements right away. As Powder Mountain changed ownership about 2 years ago, and Mr. Reed Hastings is here in person to, and we thank him for joining us, because that began the immediate investment into the resort infrastructure and the extensive work on implementing and updating operations. At that time, we also started to identify aspects of the operations that needed attention. The resort was zoned specifically as a destination and recreation resort over 10 years ago, which many of you probably remember. And soon thereafter, the county and the Powder entered into the development agreement that's still in place today for the mountain acreage. So the intention of that agreement and all of that planning was to take this beautiful, massive acreage of 5,000 plus acres, and it has aging and underbuilt infrastructure, and take that into a renowned alpine destination that provides exceptional experiences for both locals and our destination guests alike. Part of that solution for keeping the resort operationally successful is to grow our visitor numbers. And that's to also to keep the resort public. Having a park and ride with an enjoyable and easy trip up and down the mountain for employees and resort guests will reduce the number of vehicle miles on SR 158 and the key location that captures riders before they get to the canyon, where studies of other resorts surely show that it encourages ridership. Charlie has addressed slightly one of the benefits of the Ogden Valley is that there's actually multiple ways to enter into the valley from outside access points. You don't just have 1 or 2, you actually have 3, and in the summer 4. And multiple ways to traverse the valley to get to the base of the mountain. That's both a benefit and in terms of dispersion of and putting vehicles on to multiple roads, but it's also a challenge from a UDOT or a UTA transit. And that's why this location is actually key. The transit stop park and ride also is consistent with, as you heard, but to actually Chapter 6 regarding transit and some of the recreational opportunities that the Ogden Valley General Plan and the recreational portion call out. And lastly, on timing. Although the timing of this request for an amended development agreement happens to align with the change in governance for the Wolf Barn parcel, the leadership and governmental oversight for the mountain lands, which is the 5,000 plus acres, are still located within Weber County. This project is projected to bring over $179 million in total projected revenue by 2049. And this is in tax revenue, tourism tax, and impact fees, which is important as we're listening to budgeting season. While we recognize the newly formed city creates a new political boundary that we will function within as a community-minded entity, and we look forward to the design review process with them, we also remain committed to the plan approved over 10 years ago and being implemented in Weber County now, with this recreation and transit parcel being key to the overall resort plan. With that, I'd like Mr. Hastings to have some comments.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, commissioners. You know, the irony of this big investment in powder is I thought the private side would be really controversial. But in fact, it's been very successful and has generated lots of new property tax revenue. On the public side, we want to have great parking for everyone in Weber County. So 275,000 residents. And when they come up, they need a place to park, and they would love to not go up the hill. It's very taxing on the cars, and we're offering free shuttle service from this parking lot. So it's really a great benefit to the, all the people who ski from all of Weber County. I understand there's some tensions, you know, in the neighborhood. That's natural. We're committed to working with all the neighbors. We want, you know, to be a great partner, both for the city and for all the citizens there too. We talked about the berms, the other things. But again, the big beneficiary of this is all of the residents of Weber County. When they come up, they don't have to drive and they get a free shuttle. So I'm hoping that you'll approve it, and then we'll continue to work again with the city and with the community to make this a real asset. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sans, Mr. Hastings, thank you. Okay, before I go to public comment, just a reminder, if you've emailed us, we've read those comments, and also just a little definition that might be helpful. If we hear multiple comments, either for or against, that equates to public clamor, and what we should be considering is points. So if someone mentions your point, you don't need to come up and reiterate that. So with that, I'll open this up to public comments. Again, limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please, when you come to the mic, state your name and the city where you reside.
Chair and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Kyle Tolman, and my wife, Ton, and I are adjacent property owners and an adversely affected party. This application should be denied, not because of opinion, but because it fails to meet basic legal and procedural requirements. First, this application was not timely filed and not complete under published county deadlines and code. Required materials such as a traffic impact study, stormwater analysis, emergency services feasibility, cost-benefit analysis, and water and sewer acknowledgments were never submitted. There is also no evidence the application was ever formally deemed complete, yet it was rushed forward anyway. Second, this request attempts to use a development agreement to override existing zoning and a binding 2002 development agreement that permanently designated this parcel as open space with 0 development rights. The applicant already received the benefit of that agreement by transferring development rights elsewhere. This proposal violates those covenants and fundamentally conflicts with the Ogden Valley General Plan. Finally, the proposal seeks to vest a 610-stall commercial parking lot and transit hub, a prohibited use in AB3 zoning, without evidence of need, without required studies, and without mitigation for traffic, wetlands, noise, or impacts to neighboring properties. To put the scale in perspective, this parking lot would be larger than the entire parking area of the Ogden Home Depot, yet it is proposed next to existing homes and land designated as open space. The general plan is also clear. Park and ride facilities are intended to be located outside the Ogden Valley and not within it. Approving this application would directly contradict that guidance. Approving an incomplete application that violates binding agreements and the general plan would be arbitrary and capricious. We respectfully ask you to follow the law, uphold the general plan, and deny this application consistent with the Planning Commission's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tolman.
Good morning, Commissioner. It's still morning, I think? Yep,
Yes,
we've got a
it
few minutes
is.
left here. My name is Cody Laws. I'm a resident of Huntsville, and I've been a patron turned employee of Powder Mountain. I have 2 kids who grew up in the Ogden Valley, going to Valley Elementary, Snowcrest, and access to outdoor activities and outdoor adventures has always been one of the best parts of living in the Ogden Valley and raising a family there. I've used the bike trails, we always called them the Wolf Barn Trails, near this area frequently over the years. It was actually where my daughter first rode a mountain bike. And seeing that as part of this development agreement, there will be kind of like a refreshment of that area and trails linking to pathways around the valley, I think is an incredible asset to the local community there. Beyond that recreational part, this project is a great step forward in addressing community need of winter driving. It can be very stressful for visitors, workers, anybody going up to the mountain. The Powder Mountain Road is no joke. Currently, there's not a great organized place for people to park and take transit. The Park and Ride is that missing link that would organize these pickup points, reduce the number of cars on the road during storms, and create a foundation for a safer, more reliable shuttle system in the future. Along with that, having a clean, safe, not like right next to one of the only bars in Ogden Valley, place to drop my kids off to catch this transpo with professional drivers would be incredible service to the community. Also, Commissioner, as you mentioned earlier, tourism has such a strong economic impact on our state and on our county. This would allow people coming from abroad to be able to get their part of Powder's greatest snow on earth without having to consider the stresses of navigating that road. I believe it reflects what our community has consistently asked for: safer winter travel, improved recreational opportunities, and thoughtful design. I urge you to support this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ryan Crabtree, and I live at 3235 North, 4975 East, directly adjacent to the proposed Park and Ride. Before addressing the substance of this item, I want to briefly address process. This application has moved forward in an unusually rushed manner, and the county failed to follow public notice code, some of which has been corrected, as well as its own public notice policies. The Red Line Development Agreement the public is being asked to rely upon, which was uploaded to Frontier late yesterday afternoon for a meeting with public comment scheduled at 10 a.m. today, providing less than 24 hours for review, does not afford a reasonable opportunity for public understanding and meaningful participation. In addition, written public comment is required to be submitted 24 hours in advance of this meeting. As a result, affected parties who attempted to comply with that requirement were unable to review the governing documents before submitting their comment. Those comments that you've read, they haven't actually seen the changed redlined agreements. Taken together, this process has been unreasonably compressed and procedurally deficient. The development agreement itself continues to read as a draft document and does not appear legally ready for approval. Turning to substance, the Ogden Valley Planning Commission issued a unanimous negative recommendation based on 7 specific findings. The key issue before you today is that the revisions made to the development agreement do not directly respond to those findings. Under Utah law governing development agreements, a Utah county may enter into such an agreement, but it may not use a development agreement to authorize the development that is inconsistent with existing land use regulations unless it undergoes the same level of legislative analysis required to amend those regulations. That distinction matters here because this agreement is not being used to authorize a land use the Planning Commission found to be incompatible with the AV3 zoning and inconsistent with the Ogden Valley General Plan. When a development agreement functions in this manner, it must be evaluated with the same rigor as a rezone, including clear consistency with the general plan and explicit evidence-based findings that justify the change. That analysis must be supported by completed studies, included traffic and access impacts, utility and service capacity, environmental and wetlands review, stormwater and drainage analysis, the site design, and buffering effectiveness. Those studies are required before approval, not deferred until after. While some language has been revised in the proposed development agreement, those edits do not resolve the fundamental land use conflicts that form the basis of the Planning Commission's unanimous recommendation. If the Commission chooses to move forward despite that recommendation, it must do so on a legally adequate record that directly addresses each of those 7 findings. At this point, that record doesn't exist. For this reason, I respectfully provide a negative recommendation consistent with the Ogden Valley Planning Commission.
Thank you for that. Next. Please remember to state your name and location.
I'm Lee Dean. I'm a resident of Ogden City in Weber County. I am here today speaking.
Hold on, Lee, just a second. I don't know how to use these. It's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Good. Okay. Speaking as the immediate past chair and on behalf of the Ogden Weber Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber supports the proposed Wolf Barn Park and Ride project because it addresses a real and growing challenge in Ogden Valley: how to safely and responsibly manage access to Powder Mountain while protecting residents, visitors, and the canyon itself. We see this project as a solution for safety, access, and smart transportation to the resort. A park and ride will reduce private vehicle traffic on steep, icy roads, improve emergency access, and lower congestion during peak winter and event periods. It creates a safer experience for everyone: residents, visitors, suppliers, employees, and first responders alike. The project also supports continued public access to Powder Mountain by providing a centralized shared transportation solution. The mountain remains usable and welcoming to the community. From a regional perspective, this project supports tourism, local businesses, workforce attraction, and long-term preparation for major events such as our 2034 Winter Olympics. It aligns with the kind of low-impact infrastructure that strengthens our outdoor economy while respecting the character of the valley. We understand concerns about growth and change, and we believe this project represents a practical, balanced step forward, one that manages impacts rather than ignoring them. For these reasons, the Ogden Weber Chamber of Commerce supports the Wolf Barn Park and Ride project and encourages its thoughtful advancements. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Gillette. I am a resident of Weber County and I live here in Ogden. I am also an employee at Powder Mountain and I'm here in support of the project. I want to speak to it both personally and professionally. To start with, personally, I'm an avid skier. I'm up in the mountains or on the mountain generally 3 times a week with my family, which involves a lot of driving time on some pretty scary roads, particularly at Powder Mountain. The impact that this project would have on my personal safety, my family's safety, and my community's safety cannot be overstated. That is a very dangerous road, and even with fully equipped vehicles, there are incidents all the time. I've unfortunately been a bit too close to some people who have had some very close calls on that road. So handing that over to professional drivers with fully equipped vehicles would be a significant benefit in my life at least 3 times a week. Additionally, I do want to talk about the location of the proposed project. I think it is in the prime location that would encourage use, and alternatives where a park and ride would be located farther away or in the valley simply would not be sufficient. If anyone here has skied, you know the difference between sitting in a bus with boots on for 45 minutes versus a 15-minute ride up the road is significant. When I first moved to Ogden, I lived right across the street from the 12th Street parking lot where there was an opportunity to ride the UTA bus. That did not end up being practical. We didn't end up using it very much because if there was ever traffic in the canyon or any delays, you're stuck on a bus for an hour to an hour and a half rather than in your own car with your music, with your snacks, whatever else you need. I would use this park and ride where it is proposed. I personally would not use one in a different location. I do think it's critical. Finally, speaking from the perspective of Powder, Powder has made it very clear that we do want to keep the resort public for forever. And while that is an excellent commitment and it is very important, there are additional, we need additional support in order to make that a great experience from the public side. Currently, from the public side, there's just not a great parking situation up on the mountain, and it provides a lot of difficulty. Allowing for a project like this would allow the public to be able to access Powder Mountain in an enjoyable manner rather than getting up there, there's no parking, you come back down, you may just give up on your ski day. If we actually want the public to be able to enjoy Powder Mountain, a project like this would allow it to happen. So because I believe that this project would significantly improve the safety of residents driving up the mountain, because I do think that this is the correct location to improve usage without increasing traffic congestion. And because this is just the right thing to do for Powder and the public long term, I would urge your support of this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kyle Martin. I live in the Wolf Creek area of Eden, just about a 10-minute walk to what we're talking about. I'm the Chief People and Technology Officer for Powder, so I also focus on community engagement. So I appreciated today how much conversation was about the people here in the government and how much focus is on the experience of the team within the government. And I just say I wake up every day thinking about the people of our company. We've added a couple of hundred jobs to Powder over the last couple of years. And I also focus on community engagement, which just means I partner with nonprofits in the area and other community leaders to make sure we're being good partners and add positive impact to what we're doing in the Valley. I support what we're doing really for three main reasons, and I won't overcomplicate this. It's really just because I grew up in a rural area of Texas, and I spent about 20 years there, and then about 20 years in Colorado, and I walked into the Valley about 2 years ago and thought this was a beautiful combination of the things I loved about those two states. And so I also love the feeling and the experience of being in the Valley and living in the Valley and calling it home. And it's important to me that I believe in what we're doing as a company to balance progress with intention and making sure that we're doing what we can to listen to the community and build things that both add infrastructure for our team and the county visitors, but also do it in a way that keeps that feeling that we all love about the Valley. So that's super important to me and why I'm here today. Also, like I said, we added a couple hundred positions to the company, and it's important to me that our employees feel safe, they feel like they have a place to park and come to work every single day. This adds that value and that infrastructure that is needed. And the third one is just is safety, which has been talked about a bunch. I live just base at the bottom of Powder Mountain, and I see that road up and down every single day. I can speak firsthand. I walk to work that safety for drivers, safety for residents in the area will be enhanced by having this project there. So thank you for the consideration. I live right at the base. I work for Powder. I support what we're doing, and I encourage you to support what we're doing as well. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
My name's Orville Peterson, and I live at 3218 North on Powder Mountain Road, which is basically across the street from where they propose this parking lot. So I have to basically put up with all the traffic that goes up and down that road constantly all day long, and Charlie mentioned, Charlie mentioned that he's walked the houses to the west. I wonder if they've taken any consideration to the houses to the east, which would be me, where I have to look across the street to see this, and the fumes and the traffic and everything that's going to be involved with this, you know. It seems like all this just goes on, and for 50 years living there, what I've seen change in the area, so I'm totally against it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Sarah Tolliver. I live in Eden, but I'm here representing Visit Ogden, the destination marketing and management organization for Weber County. Our role at Visit Ogden is to support the visitor economy in a way that strengthens community, protects place, and enhances the quality of life for the people who live there. I want to start by acknowledging Powder Mountain. This is a place that many of us recreate, bring our families, and feel deeply connected to, having grown up there. Powder Mountain has consistently shown a commitment to being thoughtful stewards of both the land and the community, and to engaging in growth that is intentional, of the highest quality, and aligned with the character of the Valley. That approach matters, and we appreciate the effort to listen, adapt, and work collaboratively. In our role of work, protecting the beauty and aesthetics of our community, especially the most beautiful parts, is of paramount importance. Maintaining this beauty and appeal also means incorporating smart strategies to accommodate residents and visitors, with transportation being a key example of where a balance sometimes has to be made. Others have addressed the safety and infrastructure, so I'm going to skip those parts of my comments, but want to say that from a visitor economy perspective, responsible access is a form of stewardship. When we manage transportation and circulation better, we reduce the strain on surrounding areas and our natural resources. A smoother, safer experience benefits locals first, while also reinforcing our reputation as a place that values balance, care, and long-term thinking. I agree that a Wasatch Front location is needed, as are lots and opportunities for transportation throughout the valley for residents and visitors alike. The ski bus currently transports more than 100,000 patrons to our 2 ski resorts annually. We want to continue to increase that number to minimize the impact of single-use cars on our roads and the corresponding traffic and emissions that come from that. Lastly, I want to recognize the responsiveness shown throughout this process. The community feedback has meaningfully shaped the design, from vegetation screening to lighting and traffic adjustments, and that willingness to listen and accommodate deserves acknowledgement. This is a project that addresses real challenges we already face, improves our safety, and supports responsible recreation. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm Jan Fulmer, Eden, Utah. May I please approach the commissioners with something? It's pictures.
Sure.
I'm not going to reiterate a lot of the concerns that have been expressed, but let's think out of the box here a little bit. This is the 3rd time this request has been made to put a parking lot on this parcel. And we go back to 2013 when the director of Weber County Planning, Robert Scott, explained it was not only the development agreement, but it was the whole Wolf Creek master plan. When the Wolf Creek went through the bankruptcy hearings, the communities in the valley, the full-time residents of that valley, got together and they worked with the developers who ended up with all the parcels after the bankruptcy. All of their input, all of what was resolved, and I didn't know this, is actually stored on the Weber County website. So it shows how much we tried to work to make this happen. What you are looking at, the map, shows this parcel. It was always intended to be a park. That was part of the Wolf Creek Development Agreement. Summit Mountain Holding Group has not agreed to talk to the Forest Service about using the Port Ramp area. If you stop to think about it, the Port Ramp area is right at entry into the valley. It's not in a residential area. It's not in all the traffic congestion. And when we talked to Sean Harwood about this back in 2021, Sean said yes, the Forest Service would be very amenable to working with whatever to make a park and ride out of that Port Ramp parking lot in the winter. It's not used. What you have in front of you is the master plan for Pineview. There's a major expansion planned for that Port Ramp parking area. They couldn't start it because it's been all ripped up to put in the water lines for Ogden City. But stop and think about it. That could also serve as a park and ride even for Nordic. Nordic is a very congested ski area also with 500 plus development units. And someday we may even have a UTA bus in the summer that's the Pineview Loop bus, and stop at the different areas where people could get off and go to the beaches and whatever. So let's look at the big picture. Having a park and ride at that Port Ramp area benefits far more than Powder Mountain, and also would benefit tourism, which I know Sarah Tolliver looks to increase, and it would be a far better solution for the valley. Thank you.
Thank you.
afternoon. My name is Ashley Crantis. I'm an employee at Powder, and I live on Grant Avenue. Prior to being hired, like a lot of folks at Powder, I was a guest for several winters snowboarding and recreating up there. I'd appreciate a park and ride at the foot of Powder. One key factor I was thinking about is the efficiency. As someone who's taken public shuttles, employee carpool, UTA buses to the top of the mountain, all those were in different pickup locations, and that leads to it being pretty disorganized and more of like a scattershot approach. And that leads to really unpredictable spikes in traffic and when people are coming up and down. And I was just thinking that for winter, others have mentioned safety, so I won't continue on about that too much, but I think it'd be smoother, more reliable to leave the transit to individuals who are familiar with the roads and drivers who are trained on those routes. They're using vehicles with appropriate tire grading and safe brakes. And then summer and shoulder seasons, it would be able to maximize the mountain landscape for recreation and nature. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I can finally say afternoon, so good afternoon. Thank you for your time. My name is Kelly Pendleton. I am also a resident of Weber County and am here today representing Ogden City Economic Development. Powder Mountain plays a critical role in our region's economy. They are investing in making a world-class resort while staying grounded in what makes this community unique. There may have been other plans, but this is a chance to really partner with someone who has the resources to invest and improve this community and the communities around. These kinds of investments matter. They create stable jobs and support local businesses, as visitors not only come here to ski, but to sleep, to shop, and to eat at our restaurants and many other retail stores, not only here, but in the surrounding communities. Powder Mountain employs nearly 900 people. They are our neighbors, families, and community members whose livelihoods depend and directly tied to the success and sustainability of that place. When I first met their team, I was impressed by their commitment to partner with the community, to learn more about our culture, and to want to keep Powder local, to ensure public access. That is critical, to ensure public access. We talked about the safety, so I won't go over those notes again. But again, I don't think we can overemphasize the importance of safety on wintry, slippery roads up the windy canyon. We should be proud of a resort in our region that's making long-term investments that reflect the respect for our community and a community for shared prosperity. From an economic development standpoint, from a safety perspective, and from a quality of life perspective, this is the right project at the right time, and I humbly ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Mitchell, and I live in Wolf Creek. I live about a mile from this project. I also am the Chief Operating Officer at Powder Mountain, and I wanted to talk to you about why I support this project, both as a resident and as an employee. First, the traffic. Others have already talked about the traffic up Highway 158, but really what I'm concerned about is the traffic in Wolf Creek, and this project will help reduce the traffic in the neighborhoods and on the main road that feed into the neighborhoods of Wolf Creek, because it will stop all of the traffic before they go up to the mountain, at least 610 of the cars, and put those people in a bus or a van to get up the mountain. So traffic is one important piece. Also, beauty is another, and this project is designed to increase the beauty of the project area rather than otherwise. And between the berms that we plan to place and the vegetation, this will really very much improve the nature and the beauty. And then as well as the park and bicycle park that we're planning on enhancing in the area as well. So traffic, beauty, and then the other is convenience. So people, you've heard from employees and guests that like to get up on the mountain, and a lot of people really don't like the road up there to drive it, and we really want to make sure that there's a convenient option for people to get up onto the mountain without having to drive their own vehicles, wear and tear on their cars and trucks and so forth. So for those reasons, I really support this project, and I ask that you approve it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brandon Bingham. I'm a long-term resident of the Valley, Weber County. Currently live in Eden. As also an employee of Powder, I've experienced, being a local and having a hard time going up the road, hard time parking, mostly for my family. I work during the day, and my child and wife, Kelsey and Quinn, love to go up and ski. It's a scary road. They currently have a favor from a friend that owns a business in Eden. They're able to park and jump on a shuttle. It's not convenient. The friend also has a business that he allows them to do that, but this could be a good fix for everybody coming up the mountain, as everybody else has said. I just wanted to state I'm definitely for it as a local and an employee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. You probably know me, but Gary Fulmer, Eden. I'd like to say location is very important here. The Ogden Valley Plan has nodes that are supposed to be center city, and this development is right in the middle of one. You're taking away Wolf Creek, putting development in there, and putting in 600-plus parking spaces in there. It's likened to Home Depot. Well, Home Depot is not allowed in the valley, but you want to put a parking spot in there. What I would like to say, I don't think there's any argument how difficult Powder Mountain Road is, how dangerous it is. I have seen accidents on there myself. Something needs to change. There's no doubt about that. But the location is the problem here. I don't think there's anybody going to argue that a better spot. Now, someone else who I know brought up the fact there's another alternate location in the valley, and that's down by Pineview. The Forest Service has authorized already expansion of that parking lot. It is funded. It is going to happen. So my suggestion is, yes, let's recognize the fact we do need to do something with the valley traffic, but we also have a better location that would service both Snow Basin, Nordic Valley, Powder Mountain, and in the summer, even the reservoir. So let's make it a multi-function spot instead of just isolating for one mountain and one parking area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is John Gingrich. I live at 3509 Moose Hollow Drive in Eden. And, well, they can't build I'm up on the hill looking down on it. They can't build a berm big enough for us. So that's one thing. Number two is, do we really want to put acres of an of an impervious barrier on a sensitive water area? I think not. Number three is this project even necessary? As you're aware, that next year that Powder Mountain is going to remove the Sunrise Lift, and it's going to take away the public access to over 1,000 acres. And I don't think they understand the anger of the season pass holders. And the sales are going to crater. So the need for this parking lot, in my mind, is just not there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Miranda Menzies. Live in Eden, 3807 North Elk Ridge Trail. I've been sitting there fighting with myself about whether I was going to say anything or not. I feel basically neutral. This could go that way, this could go the other way. But I'd like to raise one thing that nobody seems to have considered, which is what happens in the summer And I would make an urgent plea that there be consideration and commitment from Powder that they do not use it for construction staging. I think it would be disrespectful to our residents. I can equally see that a parking lot of that size, we can put a stage up, we can have concerts, we could put an amphitheater somewhere where it wouldn't disturb the neighborhood so much. We can use that space for recreation using the parking that would be dual purpose. So I'm not speaking either in favor or against the project, but I would ask consideration and respect for our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners. I have a letter here from Tana Tolman, who's not able to be here today because she's caring for her children at home, and she's asked that you would allow me to have her 3-minute time along with mine. I'll do my best to move quickly, and maybe I won't need it, but I hope that's appropriate. I've seen it demonstrated in other meetings in Weber County Planning Commission and this commission. My name is Bill Wright. My address is 203 North Valley View Drive in North Salt Lake. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today on this topic. For this agreement, which was made available to the public less than 24 hours ago, your agenda was actually posted way before the agreement was made available about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I'm a retired Community Economic Development Director with a 40-year career serving in various capacities as a planner right here in Weber County, the Community Development Director for Ogden City, the Planning Director for Salt Lake City, the largest city in our state with incredibly complex land use planning issues, and the Community Economic Development Director for Layton City. So to speak, I've been around the block here in the state of Utah in land use planning and development world. So during my career, I learned a valuable lesson that I'd like to share, and I taught my employees, my colleagues, and the elected officials that I worked for. If you have not been on the site, discerning all the necessary situations to understand the lay of the land, for which you are evaluating a long-term impacting decision and desire to be fair, equitable, and lawful, then you are likely to be making one of your biggest mistakes that you will regret. Throughout my career, I have required site visits of evaluating planners, and I actually shared that with Charlie at the beginning of this process when he said he had not been on a site. Oh, I didn't know. We shared with him some things that are very important, and so I suppose he went and visited finally. But they need to be also available to the decision makers, that they tour the site, and whenever possible, that's what I would do. So I ask you, commissioners, have you and your planning director and your county attorney assigned to this agreement walk the site, discern the situations, and apply the details of this hastily prepared agreement so you can fully understand the impacts upon the community and the adversely affected property owners that own property adjacent to this site, and to more fully understand the impacts they will live with that take away their quiet enjoyment of their property rights.
Would you mind moving to her letter then?
You want her letter?
That's 3 minutes, so if you'd like to give us her letter, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you been in their backyards and their homes to understand the detailed words of this agreement, which you are being asked to approve with only a few hours to fully understand? Have you stood in their backyards, put up a 5-foot piece of wood that represents a 5-foot berm to see how it supposedly fully blocks the view of the parking lot and the operations, to provide the mitigation of this prohibited use to the west boundary properties, if you do not fully understand the implications of the words of this recently proposed agreement that has substantially changed since it was first submitted, almost nowhere near the same, then I would suggest that you pump the brakes on this proposal until you do understand. As if you were the adversely affected owner of property in homes immediately adjacent to the prohibited 650, my understanding is, car parking lot and transit facility, which you are being asked to approve. Haste will result in disappointment and regret, with the post-decision feeling of, oh, had I only known, I would have not done that. We have all had those feelings in our decisions of life. You have a chance right now to not do that. Rick Grover said to me yesterday that developers and landowners have fear of the future city government, to which my response is there should be fear of the hasty decisions being made without complete understanding of their long-term implications, even their unintended consequences. Your constituents include the citizens of Ogden Valley. You still represent them in your local government capacity as elected officials. Please consider them with equal value as you make this decision. Lastly, because of the speed at which you are processing land use regulations in the county with 50-year impacts and consequences, there are mistakes being made following the Utah Code and Weber County Code, as has been demonstrated with processing this application and recently others that I am aware of. I've been following this application process for the last 1.5 months, I suppose it's been, and it's been a bizarre, to say the least. It's been very difficult to understand, even with my long career experience. At times it appears staff was withholding some information or on the application or misstating codes or not aware of codes requirements to review the application. If you are pressed, I have one sentence, please. If you are pressed
I'm sorry, that's been 6 minutes.
for a
Thank
decision
you.
today or in the coming weeks without full understanding of the words of the agreement, in site visits, I would ask that you deny this application. Thank you.
Hello, Scott Berlindi from Layton, Utah, supporting Powder Mountain. I'm the Director of Parking and Transportation. I have worked in the ski industry for over 18 years at multiple different resorts in 3 different states. When I first started this role at the mountain, I was amazed that something like this did not exist. I would like to clarify on some of our previous comments around the port ramp and the use of the port ramp. I personally have talked with the Forest Service, and the port ramp parking was put on hold due to the construction projects, and it has not still been approved. We do not own that parcel, so year-round usage, both summertime and wintertime, does not necessarily provide us access. It is also further away from the resort. In my experience, closer parking to the resort, such as this park and ride, does provide the convenience and access and will increase usage. My goal in my position is to increase ridership. I want to see UTA full, and I want to see all of our shuttles going up and down the mountain. In my first year, transportation at the resort like this didn't fully exist. We provided just several shuttles up in the morning and several shuttles down in the afternoon and evening for team members and community members. Under my organization, we have increased this to all-day access, both for our team members in the valley as well as our residents. We created a residence shuttle, and we have gotten great comments around the shuttle usage in the wintertime. That being said, our residents are still looking for a place that if they're not directly on the shuttle route, to be able to drive to and ride the shuttle up the mountain. Right now, that does not fully exist. So providing this in this location not only provides them convenience and the chances of them using it more, it once again keeps less vehicles off the road and leaves the driving to my team. So I'm strongly in support of this in its location, being convenient in its location, so that way our guests are not driving out of the way and riding on a shuttle further than what they already have to. Thank you.
I promise I'll be fast. My name is Valerie Walker. I live at 3428 North Wolf Creek Drive. So we're right across from where the parking lot would be and a little bit north of that. We're just under 6.5 miles from Powder Mountain Resort, and we are the last horse property you will see on your way up to Powder Mountain Road, although we don't have horses. I'm going to tell you a story about my son. He's 14. He goes to Snowcrest up in Eden. He and his friends last week were looking forward to going to Powder Mountain when they opened on Friday night for night skiing. And it's a hobby that, you know, these teenage boys like to do, and the parents support it. We all signed off. They were going to take the shuttle that stops behind the pizza place. Great. They go to buy their tickets, and they're sold out. How can they be sold out? On the night before, I had seen Powder Mountain doesn't even have snow. They were moving it from the parking lot to the mountain, but tickets are sold out. I mean, that's crazy to me. So all weekend long, I've been thinking about it, and it turns out, from what I could Google, and Google could be wrong, they only sell 1,500 daily ticket passes a day. And in my mind, I'm still working off the 800-person number, and if everybody's carpooling, like, do we have enough people that need 610 or 800 parking places? And I'm still thinking about it, and we drive by Valley Market, and we're like, okay, that's, 16 times the size of Valley Market's parking lot. And people complain they can't get a parking spot at lunch. I can always pop in real quick. Not ever a problem for me. So a few weeks ago, in the Tuesday night meeting when this was proposed, they were saying that parking lot that they're using for a shuttle's transport stop behind Valley Pizza and behind the Thai place and by the liquor store, that's not being utilized to its fullest capacity. You can go in there anytime and find a place to park. Powder Mountain acknowledged that they have plenty of parking there. Their cup isn't runneth over in that parking lot for employees, for families, for day ticket holders. So they still have unused parking places that they can use, right? So fast forward Sunday, I'm in the line at McDonald's, and all we do is scroll through our phones, Instagram for me specifically. And it was an article about Powder Mountain and the $4 million houses that were being built up there, and a light bulb went off. And I was like, well, crap, if I was building a $4 million house, I don't want to look at a 600 or 800 parking lot, capacity parking lot. I don't own a $4 million house. I don't own $1 million house. But they want me to look at a 600 or 800 piece parking lot, and they want me to see the cars coming and going. I love that people are in support of carpooling and shuttling. I'm for it too. I just don't want it in my neighborhood.
Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing none, commissioners, before we close the public comments, I'd like to go back to, we missed a public comment, sorry, Andy. Public comments for the Community Block Grant Program.
Yeah,
Chad, you
sorry,
mentioned that
Commissioner
Andy
Wallace.
might want to speak, and then she
Yeah,
didn't
I
come
wasn't paying
forward.
enough attention, but I would like to give Andy the opportunity to come up and give you a presentation on the project that she's looking at applying for. Thanks, Commissioners.
Sorry about that. I was not quick enough. So the Weber Housing Authority is interested in applying for the CDBG funding on behalf of the Weber Housing Authority for emergency rental assistance and deposit assistance. This would be made available to low and moderate income households in Weber County outside of Ogden City. So any questions about what we're interested in applying for?
None for me.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for coming back. Okay, commissioners, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the public adjourn the public hearing and reconvene the public meeting.
So moved. Second.
That's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Before we go to action, Commissioners, if you don't mind, I just want to thank those who are in attendance, especially those with respectful comments. I think everyone here today was respectful. Emails aren't always so much so. But thank you for the respectful comments. And I also want to thank those who were respectful of the request not to repeat points. It's sometimes can get passionate and hard to let those emotions stay in check. So I appreciate everyone. Okay, item 11 on our agenda is action on the public hearings. We'll start with H2, which is discussion and/or action on the 2026 Community Block Grant Program known as CDBG.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the 2026 Community Block Grant Program, CDBG, as presented by Mr. Chad Meyerhaffer this morning. Meyerhaffer.
Meyerhofer.
Meyerhofer.
You're close. Wampler, I don't know.
Wampler, yeah. It's been a long morning.
I'll second that. Resolution 65-2025, I'm getting a no.
No, that's the
There's no
operating.
resolution.
That's, sorry, that's H2. Thank you, no resolution.
Okay.
Just an okay. Okay, fine, Craig. No problem.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Item H4, request for approval of Resolution 65-2025, amending the operating and capital budget of Weber County for the 2025 calendar year.
Motion to approve Resolution 6025 as was presented by Ms. Ebert earlier today.
That's 65-2025.
That's what I meant to say.
I thought
I
so.
knew what you meant. I'm going to second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on that.
Roll call vote for Resolution 65-2025. Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Commissioner Faur?
Aye.
Chair Bolos?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Item H6, request for approval of a development agreement to preserve development rights, timing of project development, and overall project layout for approximately 19.32 acres located at approximately 700 South, 7900 East, Huntsville, Utah 84317 in the AV3 zone. The file number is ZBA 2025-12.
Madam Chair, I need to make a motion on this. First, I'm going to declare a potential conflict of interest since I do have a potential interest in this property. And the second motion I need to make is under the suspension of the rules. Under our commission rules, I'm going to ask to be recused from placing a vote that's required under state code and also under our rules. So just ask your permission, and I'm going to make sure that I meet the legal requirements on that, Chris, because I'm sure it'll be written up.
To declare a conflict of interest, yes, it has to be done in an open meeting, so thank you. I don't have the commission rules in front of me, but I do remember this provision. If I remember correctly, you've done it exactly the way you're supposed to, which is you declare the conflict and then you turn to the other two commissioners to accept the request to recuse.
So that's my motion, to recuse myself and make sure that the declaration of potential conflict on this is noted in the record.
And would I second that?
I think it's just fine to do it through a motion. It will just formalize it for the minutes.
Okay. Then that's formalized.
Formalized.
And Commissioner Faur is recused.
I accept.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve item H6 as listed under action item 7 in our action item 11 in our public hearing.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, we are on H8, request for approval of an amendment of the Wolf Creek Development Agreement as it applies to property located at approximately 3301 North Wolf Creek Drive. The amendment is for the allowance of a park and ride lot and related uses to serve the Powder Mountain Ski Resort.
Madam Chair, comments?
Please.
Long meeting, and I don't mean to belabor this. I would love to see, this would make everybody happy. I would love to see some type of transportation option from Front Runner here in Ogden all the way up to the Ogden Valley with a hub as specifically mentioned in the current general plan to be able to shuttle people from that hub to Nordic Valley, to Snow Basin, to Powder Mountain, to Pineview Reservoir, to wherever. That would be perfect. That's not going to happen today or tomorrow, but I know that it's listed on the plan. There, except for this, I want to respect him by saying his name. John Dingret, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He may be the only person that, well, Gage, sorry. I skied up Powder Mountain weekly since 1972. Can't expect for that thing to close down. That's we all, and I was actually thought, this isn't moving that the employees, and I don't think they're under any kind of stress or duress to come and make comments here today, but they like the ride up there. I remember the drive up there in a two-wheel drive car, by the way. It wasn't four-wheel drive car, back and forth. I think we need a transition. We need a transition solution. I'm also concerned, I appreciate Ms. Menzies being neutral as the chair of Wolf Creek Water Sewer. She needs to grow. Well, she didn't say that publicly today, but she said it a number of times in the past that Wolf Creek Water and Sewer needs to grow, and having some type of use that could be taxable in the interim until something's worked out where they could grow and another permanent hub location could be installed is, I think, a good idea. I appreciate the concession from 800 down to 610. I like the idea of landscaping. Charlie, I would like to make sure that it's landscaping all the way around because I want to protect all the neighbors, not just the ones on one particular east, west, north, south. I like the dark sky language. I like the trails. I think we've been a very trail positive group. I want to continue with that. I like the idea of no construction staging and would like to make sure that any construction related material was gone by the middle of July, and even the buildings gone by the end of next year. I like the car idling restrictions. I like the phased approach, and I think it's a safer option for most of the people that will go up there and have jobs. That's what we're after, is workforce. And the fact that people can have a place to go and be shuttled up safely, it makes good sense to me, having had my feet on the ground up there for more than 50 years and coming down, up and down the ground. So I think it's a positive move. I know it's not popular. I like the idea of tourism. I like the idea of what it does in front of the Olympics. I pledge this. I'll continue to work as an executive board member with WFRC, who supports this project, the planning division, to work on something that that can get people from this side of the mountain to that side of the mountain without having to drive up the canyon. And I want it said, and I'll say it publicly. I have offered formally to take the tram away from the canyon down in Salt Lake City and move it here. That's not very popular down there, but I'd love to see some way to do it. And so it's not that we're ignoring it, but you can't expect, and I appreciate the passion of there could be other places, and there could be, but nothing's on the docket today, and wherever it is, there are people that live around Pineview. They live in Radford or Crimson and all the others, and so it's just moving the mark. And so that I would make, Madam Chair, when you're ready, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this with some of those things in the development agreement that Charlie brought out.
We'll go to you for comments, Commissioner Frewer.
Yeah, I'm fairly familiar with this after passing this on probably 3 or 4 times a week for the last 70 years. Not all 70 years was I driving, though, by the way, just before that gets put in the paper. So I struggle with this one. First off, I need to acknowledge what the current ownership of Powder Mountain has done for that resort. It wasn't the same resort that I grew up with up there a long time ago. And I know Mr. Hastings taking a great interest in making sure that the public continues to have access to that. I struggle with this because, as mentioned a couple of times, and I don't think it's any secret, Ogden Valley needs a transportation hub. They need a central location, not just for Powder Mountain. They need it for Snow Basin. They need it for the Pineview Dam, i.e. the Forest Service for the summer use. It gets extremely crowded up there, and we need to take those roads, we need to take those cars off of the roads that cause safety issues. At the same time, the last 2 years I've been working with Snow Basin, probably 3 years, had some discussions with Snow Basin, with UDOT, with our federal team, i.e. the Forest Service, on a potential other location. Now, the port ramp was mentioned. That's a site that's adjoining the port ramp that's actually owned by the Holding family that was discussed when I offered a potential site that Weber County owns on the downside of Trappers Loop for a possible exchange with UDOT's cooperation that we could do a turn lane and expand the port ramp parking lot by about 20 acres. The Holding family at that point in time, which was, again, going through some major changes, has not made a commitment to that at this point in time. I still feel that that's a viable location. At the same time, we've seen this study. I was involved with commissioning that study through Weber County and USU a few years ago. I want to make sure everybody's aware that the Forest Service, the federal government, at least when I hear from the federal people right now, this is not going to be funded anytime soon. So don't get your hopes up you're going to see any changes through Pineview Reservoir. If you look at the numbers, they're struggling to do major changes in an agreement we had up at Causey, let alone Pineview Dam. So don't leave this meeting thinking that Pineview's going to have major renovations in it anytime soon. It's not going to happen unless Ogden Valley City imposes a pretty major tax, which I don't see that taking place. So with that,
I'd like to add some comments.
so I'm through with that.
I thought you were going to make a motion.
No.
Don't leave me out.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to make a motion.
I just want to add the comments, commissioners, and this is to the applicant as well. I appreciate that you went before the Planning Commission with a plan. I appreciate that you've come back with addressing their issues, and it looks like a viable plan moving forward. I would like to see it go back to a hearing with the Planning Commission with the proposed changes. And Ms. Hans, I appreciate the meeting we had, I think it was 2 weeks ago, when you said we'd like to move forward with the county or with the city. So I hope that it goes with the city. But I would like, with the changes, I would like the Planning Commission, now the Ogden Valley Planning Commission, to hear those changes and to have additional dialogue if they have concerns that you haven't addressed. Because I don't think this is a bad location. I don't think it's a great location either. But if it can work, then I would love to see it go forward that way. So those are my comments, Commissioners. I'll leave the motions up to you.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve item H8 as with those conditions that I put forward in my comments.
Okay, the motion dies for lack of a second. Would you like to make an alternative motion?
Yeah, I'd be happy to make a substitute motion if I might. And again, I would encourage the applicant to work with the new city. And because of the time frame, and end of the day, this is a rezone. I've held firm on my position that I'm here to hold rights, but I'm not here to give additional rights. This appears to me to be additional right, even though I feel, somewhat hesitant in this because I understand that road. I understand the safety issue. So it's very difficult, but I'm going to make a motion we hold.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item I, Commissioners. Please.
2-1 again, 2-1.
You gave it a good
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.